put the damn stone in this thing and something might happen. I don't know. Seems like the best option. I mean, it
his
contains the damn
beloved was
core, which is
possessed
some
by the
kind of
spirit of a
demonic
demon.
thing. So
That's what it meant to be a hero. To brave the darkness in your loved one's soul.
maybe this thing could hold
to have
the
faith there was still good in
Ibris
her.
stone
To
too.
help her out of that darkness, no matter what the cost. But what? What could he do? She'd kill him if he tried to take the Iblis stone from her. Leave her dead.
There you go. One last fight.
At the end of the trail of raven corpses was Zenobia. Her father was frantically rigging a strange apparatus wrapped around a glowing core. "Don't do it!" he shouted. "You'll hate yourself in the morning! Stay back!" She screamed in a horrible voice he'd never heard before. It froze him in his tracks. The Emperor stared at him. "Run!" he told the toad. "Or hop!" But he didn't manage to voice it, only think it. Zenobia stabbed her blade forward, and His Majesty fell dead. She began laughing hysterically. Or was she weeping? "Just walk away," she laughed at him. "I've no more use for you." There was something he needed to do, but he couldn't figure out what it was. So he did as he was told. As he walked away, he felt a chill in the world. The light in the sky seemed to dim. He didn't dare turn. He had a nagging feeling there was something he should have done just then. Something heroic. But he could not have taken the Iblis stone from her by force, and she would not have parted with it willingly. A cold wind blew from where she had been, but he still didn't dare turn. And then, an awful laughter filled the air, and all the torches and all the ships went out, and he realized what he should have done. But by then, it was too late to do anything. Oh, again? But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that.
Hold up!
He must have not used them the right way. What was the best, worst mistake he could make? Probably trusting that traitor Lapino.
2, 3, 4. There's 8. There's 8, and I can only get. How many more endings out of that one? We go from there. Choose to territory. And then we go through filming. That's only the 2 endings out of that. I thought I get one more ending out of that, which is probably gonna be one of these 2. It's gonna be one of those 2 or one of these ones down here. Might as well do that. That way I get rid of it completely.
Faster than before? And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renata knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely.
I wish I could skip this.
Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage. Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces deep, and then this Emperor's horrific sacrifices had brought it back to the surface. Renato wasn't exactly sure how to use the legendary weapon, but surely there must be some way to do it without provoking another catastrophe. Had he somehow summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the Earth? It was more than Renato could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it. As he set foot on the island, Renato couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was Lapino still waiting to be rescued? No. He was probably drinking champagne with the ravens. Did ravens drink champagne? Did rabbits? Renato felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it. Why had he... This guy... Say goodnight, Gracie, said Renato, wondering who Gracie was. To be a way to use the Sky Ripper without causing a catastrophe. Why? Maybe it's always dangerous, he imagined Zenobia saying. Always the voice of reason, that one. Well, there had to be a way to use the Sky Ripper because not being able to use it was boring. So there.
Let me think. Increase my health. Let's go for the final thing in time.
There it was. Sky Ripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of. Engineers' dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Sky Ripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him. Renato asked himself why he changed course to confront Zenobia. He'd no idea. Sometimes he would just do things, and he could never figure out why he'd done them. Usually, they worked out. After all, he was a hero. The truth is, though, he wanted to see her, wasn't it? It had been a dozen years since Swordfu School. He'd followed every rumor about her, every scrap of news. Not that he still loved her. After all, she was his enemy. No, it was solely because know your enemy. All right,
I didn't
maybe he should
do
stop pretending.
one
He knew
branch
exactly how she felt about it.
in this line.
But their love affair always
I went to the
ended with a tragic
mountains
death.
with her to meet her
Unless
instead of going to save
maybe
the
he could
rebellion.
find a
So
way
this
to
time I'm
dodge
going to
tragedy.
ditch her and save the rebellion
Surely he could. Couldn't he?
and get that ending.
Come over here. He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he?
I did one thing in the save Lapino line. The reason why I haven't gone back since I've done that is because apparently, like the real ending, it has to be done through that line. And so I'm just doing all the other ones before I go back to that. Technically, there should be like 6 to 7 endings in the Lapino line that I haven't gotten yet, not including the real ending.
She'd be expecting him. And he didn't have Lapino to cook up a clever plan. Why was it again that he hadn't got the core? Maybe because the results tended to be disastrous. These streets were familiar. The Swordfish School was closed now. But he had been there
fuck you.
1,000 times. He knew that pub. He knew that alley.
What's going on right now?
He knew the alley behind it much too well. No wonder Zenobia had chosen to invade this island herself. Reynardo slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all. Where were her guards? Finally, he reached her bedroom. That makes no sense. It's a trap, shouted the Emperor. I'll meet you at the outpost, and I'll bring my interrogators. If Reynardo came face to face with the Emperor, maybe he could assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter and safer to turn Zenobia against her father. What are you doing? Asked Zenobia. Did you ever wonder why the Emperor adopted you? He asked her. She shook her head. He told her. His Majesty wanted to bring the lost gods back. They could make him an eater of souls, an immortal. But to seal his bargain with them, he needed a sacrifice. Someone who truly loved him. She was stunned. Furious. You're lying. Under a truce spell? It's a trick. You can't prove that. Take me to the observatory, and I will. What kind of proof could you possibly have? She said,